Hi, everyone, and welcome. Now we will finish today our history of money. Is money the root of all evil? So this is what we're going to conclude on is a moneyless society perspective. What would be the, the potential environment where in a society where the three elements of consideration would be spiritual development, personal development, and technologies development. And as we will divert ourselves from the money being the center of everything in the society, we will move away from the modern monetary system with its emphasis on wealth accumulation, as we saw in part number 5, also in part number 4, and material possessions. Everything has contributed to a moral decline in society. Money has instilled a sense of greed, selfishness, and the lack of empathy in many individuals. It has led to a culture of consumerism and materialism, where people are constantly striving to acquire more and more, regardless of the cost to themselves or to others. The pursuit of money has also had a profound impact on youth, contributing to a rise in antisocial behavior, violence, and mental health problems. Pursuit of happiness. Does it mean that we need to have money to be happy? Do we need to have, goods accumulation in order to be happy? Those who have been exposed to large amounts of money from a young age may develop a sense of entitlement and the lack of empathy for others. Those who have struggled financially may become obsessed with wealth and status, leading them to engage in risky or unethical behavior. Not for everyone, of course, but we've seen these examples repeating over and over. Young girls going for pornography and in OnlyFans. Drug dealing is now normal. There's no problem of making money. However you make money is okay. Occidental countries have used wars since 1945 in South America, Asia, Africa, Middle East for looting, stealing, and acquiring resources that belong to others. Now that we have listed all the issues with money, all the issues with wealth accumulation, is it possible to create a society that is free from the corrupting influence of money? A society that is driven by spiritual growth, personal development, and technological advancement rather than the accumulation of wealth? Such a society will need to find a way to distribute resources equitably without relying on the monetary system. It will need to foster a culture of cooperation, compassion, and sustainability, and not based on competition, wealth accumulation, and jealousy. Now, if we dive into this approach, where would we start? We could start with spiritual growth. In non-monetary society, spiritual growth would be a central pillar of human existence. Religious and philosophical beliefs would be respected and tolerated as long as they did not impede on social harmony or personal development. The goal would be to create a society where individuals could pursue their spiritual path freely without fear or persecution or discrimination. The key principles would be religious tolerance. All religions and beliefs would be accepted provided they do not promote harmful or discriminatory practices. Personal freedom. Individuals would have the freedom to practice their religion or spirituality without interference from the state or others. Social harmony. Religious differences would be celebrated as a source of diversity and richness rather than as a cause for conflict. Ethical conduct. Religious and spiritual teaching would be used to promote ethical behavior and a sense of responsibility to others. We can also name examples of acceptable or unacceptable beliefs homosexuality, same-sex relationships would be accepted and tolerated as they do not harm others. Transgenderism. Individual will be free to express their gender identity in a way that is consistent with their inner self at the moment where they have a certain age of maturity in order to make such a choice. Satanism will, which often involve harmful or destructive practices, would not be tolerated. Pedophilia, child sexual abuse, is an heinous crime and would be punished very severely, regardless of the perpetrator's religious or philosophical beliefs, but also status in society. By promoting religious tolerance and personal freedom, a non-monetary society and system would create a more harmonious and just world where individuals can thrive spiritually and socially. Now, if we look at another aspect of a moneyless society, what could it be? It could be a new political system for a moneyless society. We can think about a possible consulate and the electoral system. The age requirement. Only individuals age of 50 or older would be eligible to run for consul. The electoral system would change. Elections would be conducted entirely online, with voters identified using official IDs such as passport or driver licenses. Term limits. We can imagine that consuls will not be voted for life, but consuls would serve only for three-year terms and could only be re-elected for one additional term. Retirement. After serving 2 terms, consuls would be required to retire from public office and to come back to the public society to continue to work or eventually to retire entirely. Ministers and their appointment. The number of ministers, only a limited number of key ministers would be appointed, such as those responsible for education, resources management, technology, religions and beliefs, environment, exploration, and resources production. Ministerial nomination. Ministers would be nominated through a consensus vote among the 3 consuls. So there will be 3 consuls in this consulate. Expertise and merit. Ministers would be selected based on their expertise in their respective fields rather than political affiliation or personal connections. Key features of this new political system: limited government. The system would be designed to limit the power of the government and prevent the concentration of authority in the hands of a few individuals. Meritocracy. The selection of consuls and ministers will be based on merit rather than wealth, status, or connections. So yeah, wealth will be determined, will not be a determining factor, because now money will be not used anymore. Accountability. Consuls and ministers would be held accountable to the electorate and could be removed from office if they fail to perform the duties effectively. Stability. The system would provide a degree of stability and continuity, as consuls and ministers would serve for fixed terms. These proposed political systems with consuls of a number of 3 for a moneyless society is designed to be fair, efficient, and accountable. By limiting the power of government and ensuring that leaders are selected based on merit, it aims to create a more just and equitable society. Now, if we want to think about, we thought about a government, what about the borders, the frontiers? What would be happening with that? Then we can imagine a world without borders. In a moneyless society, the traditional concept of national borders would be obsolete. Countries would work together to ensure that resources are shared equitably and that all people have access to the necessities of life. So we can imagine technology sharing and collaboration, equal access, Advanced technologies will be shared with all countries, regardless of their level of development. Support for less developed countries. Countries with more advanced technology would provide assistance and support to less developed countries to help them catch up with the rest of the more advanced society. Collaboration, international collaboration, will be essential for addressing global challenges such as climate change, poverty, and disease. Resource sharing, equal distribution. Resources such as agricultural products, mineral products, oil, natural gas, wood, and steel would be distributed equitably amongst all countries. Avoidance of scarcity. Systems of resource management will be implemented to ensure that there is no scarcity of essential goods and services. Sustainable practices. Countries will be encouraged to adopt sustainable practices to conserve resources and protect the environment. So the key principle of this world without borders, equality. All countries and individuals would be treated equally, regardless of their locations or origins. Cooperation, international cooperations will be essential for the success of a moneyless society. Sustainability, the use of resources would be based on principles of sustainability, ensuring that future generations have access to the same resources as the present. By adopting these principles, a moneyless society could create a more just, equitable, and sustainable world. Now, naturally, if you think about a moneyless society, you need to think about education. How education can help in personal development, but also in spiritual growth. Eventually, the two could be eventually combined. Now we can think about education in a moneyless society. Equal access and opportunity. In a moneyless society, education will be a fundamental right available to all individuals, regardless of their parent, social, and economic status. The goal would be to create a system that fosters personal growth, intellectual development, and the lifelong love of learning. Learning is absolutely key. As Jesus was saying, my people are dying because of a lack of knowledge, and knowledge is extremely important. Focus on learning, not grades. The traditional emphasis on grades and competition would be replaced by a focus on learning and personal development. Students will be encouraged to explore their interests and passions and to seek help from teachers and peers when needed, openly. Collaborative learning and support. Collaborative learning will be emphasized with students working together to solve problems and develop the understanding of complex subjects. Students who struggled with certain subjects would receive additional support and resources to help them succeed. So the career path based on proficiency and interest. Career path will not be determined solely by academic grades because grades will be gone. Instead, students will be encouraged to pursue fields that align with their interests and talents. They could include subjects as music, arts, science, technology, literature, history, archaeology, architecture, political science, diplomacy, resources management, collaborative studies, medicine, surgery, vaccine, creation, teaching, and education. So you see, this is where you want to align with the personal talent that everybody has inside of them, instead of treating people to become people that generate wealth, that generate, value to the society in terms of, wealth accumulation. So the key principles: lifelong learning. Education would be seen as a lifelong process with opportunities for learning and growth available to people of all ages. Holistic development. Education would focus on the development of the whole person, including intellectual, emotional, and social skills. Equity and inclusion. All students will have access to education, regardless of their background or abilities. Relevance. Education will be designed to be relevant to the needs and challenges of the society. By following these principles, a moneyless society could create a more equitable, inclusive and fulfilling educational system that empowers individuals to reach their full potential in life, but also personal growth is part of it. Now, if we think about education, we need to think about career management in a moneyless society. What will be happening with those people that have graduated based on what they loved, what they were talented about? So, what would be their career? So, career management in a moneyless society, flexibility and adaptability. In a moneyless society, individuals would have the freedom to change careers throughout their lives. This will allow people to explore different interests and find work that is meaningful and fulfilling for them. Education and training. Individuals who wish to change careers will be provided with the necessary education and training to prepare them for their new roles. This could involve formal education, on-the-job training, or mentorship programs. Promotion based on merit. Promotions and advancements will be based on an individual's contributions, dedication, and moral ethics, rather than on factors such as security or connections, open collaboration, knowledge sharing, camaraderie, and enthusiasms will be highly valued and will be naturally pushed as element to be based on for promotions and advancements in jobs. Support for those who struggle. Individuals who are not successful in the chosen career path will not be penalized or discarded. Instead, they will be provided with support and guidance to help them find a more suitable role. This could involve discussions with career counselors, mentors, or family members to identify areas of interest and potential. Teaching as a valuable role. Teaching would be recognized as a valuable and respected profession, which is not the case today. Not everywhere. For example, in France, teachers are not paid well and they are not respected by the population, by the way. Individuals who are not successful in their chosen career could consider transitioning to teaching, where they can share the knowledge and experience with the next generation. Key principles. Lifelong learning. Individuals would be encouraged to continue learning and developing the skills throughout their careers. It doesn't mean because they have a position that they have to stop learning. On the contrary, if they have if they have desires inside of themselves to explore a new path, the potential of training will be open to everyone. Flexibility and adaptability. People will be free to change careers as needed to find work that is meaningful and fulfilling. Meritocracy. Promotions and advancements will be based on merit rather than on factors such as seniority or connections with people. Support and guidance. Individuals who are struggling in their career would receive support and guidance to help them to find a more suitable role. By following this principle, a moneyless society could create a more flexible, equitable, and fulfilling career system that empowers individuals to reach their full potential and to feel, happy in what they do. Most of the time, people on earth are not happy about what they do. They don't feel really content or fulfilled in what they do. They aspire to something else. Sometimes they even refuse careers because they know there's no money into it. But if you remove money from that equation, then in that case, you open up some new possibilities, limitless possibilities for people. Social ethics in a moneyless society, racism and discrimination. uh, severe punishment. Racism and discrimination of of any kind would be strictly prohibited and severely punished. Restricted access. Individuals who engage in racist or discriminatory behavior could face restrictions on the access to certain goods or technologies. Jail time. Persistent racist or discriminatory misconduct could result in imprisonment. Sexual abuse. Jail time. Proven sexual abuse would be punished with a mandatory jail sentence of 10 or 20 years. Zero tolerance. There will be a zero tolerance policy for sexual abuse, and victims would be provided with support and assistance. Incest and pedophilia. We can imagine that incest and pedophilia would be considered heinous crime punishable by extreme measures. It could be uh, lifelong imprisonment. It could be death penalty. There could be different aspects that could be considered, but there should be severe punishment for that. War and diplomacy. Ban on war. War will be strictly prohibited. It will result in a diminished allocation of resources from other nations. Diplomacy. Diplomacy will be the primary tool for resolving conflicts between nations. The key principles. Equality. All individuals will be treated equally regardless of their race, ethnicity, gender, sexual orientation, or other characteristics. Justice. Crimes will be punished. Crimes will be punished fairly and proportionately, and victims will be provided with support and assistance. Peace. War will be avoided at all costs, and diplomacy will be used to resolve conflicts peacefully. By adhering to these principles, a moneyless society could create a more just, equitable, and peaceful world and environment for all. Universal medical care in a moneyless society. Access to care for all. In a moneyless society, universal medical care will be a fundamental right available to all citizens, regardless of the circumstances. This would ensure that everyone has access to the health care they need require, regardless of their ability to contribute to the society. Equal treatment and care. All individuals would receive the same quality of care, regardless of their background or social status. There will be no favoritism or discrimination in the provision of medical services. Key principle, once again, for access to medical care. Equity. All citizens would have equal access to health care, regardless of the circumstances. Quality. The quality of care would be the same for everyone, regardless of their location or roles in society. Compassion. Healthcare providers would be expected to treat all patients with compassion and respect. By implementing a system of universal medical care, a moneyless society could ensure that everyone has access to the healthcare a healthcare system that they need to live a healthy and fulfilling life. Now, we've talked about many things, but what about immigration? What about social aspects and work-life balance? Okay, let's talk about this, about immigration, social aspects, and work-life balance in a moneyless society. First of all, immigration policy. Conditional immigration. Individuals would be allowed to immigrate to a new country after serving their country of birth for at least 10, 15 years, regardless of their role or occupation. The 10 or 15 years after being graduated and having a position or a job. Open positions. Immigration will be contingent upon the availability of open positions in the desired country to accommodate the immigrant and the family. Vacation and work-life balance. Unlimited vacation. I experienced unlimited vacation in my former company, and it was a great experience because people don't abuse. Actually, they consider this to be a real reward for the hard work that you do. So people generally take that, as a real advantage, and they don't necessarily abuse it. So unlimited vacation. Individual will be entitled to unlimited vacation throughout the year with a maximum of 15 consecutive days per vacation period. Flexible scheduling. Vacation periods will be discussed and validated by work managers, allowing the flexibility and accommodation of individual needs. Reasonable work hours. Work hours will be set at 7.5 hours per day for 5 days per week, with adjustments made for jobs with particularly challenging conditions. It depends what you do. Depending what you do, the difficulty and the hardship in certain jobs, there will be some accommodation, of course. Retirement, early retirement. Individuals could retire at the age of 50, depending on their work career and contributions to society. Continued support. Retired individuals will continue to receive the same allocation of resources, technology, and food as they did during their working years. Flexible vacation. Retired individuals will have the same vacation privileges as during their working years. Gender equality. No discrimination. There will be no discrimination whatsoever based on gender, and all individuals will have equal opportunities and rights. Maternity leave. Women will be entitled to a year of maternity leave after each birth, without any negative impact on the work conditions or positions. Key principles: flexibility and adaptability. The system will be designed to be flexible and adaptable to individual needs and circumstances. Work-life balance. Individuals will be encouraged to maintain a healthy balance between work and personal life. Equity and fairness. All individuals will be treated fairly and equitably, regardless of the background or circumstances. By adopting these policies, a moneyless society could create a more just, equitable, and sustainable world that prioritizes the well-being of its citizens. Corporations in a moneyless society, because we've talked about career, we talk about education, but in order to work, you need corporations, that will be providing, opportunities for careers and jobs. So, purpose-driven corporation. In a moneyless society, corporations would retain their names and role, but would be reoriented towards serving the broader goals of human development and progress. The primary focus of corporations would be on contributing to the Earth Development Program, which aims to elevate the human race through technological advancement and social improvement. Technological priorities. Corporations will be encouraged to focus on the following areas of technological development: computer science and communications technology. Advancement in this field will be essential for improving communication, education, and access to information. Space, marine, and earth exploration. Exploring the cosmos and understanding our planet would contribute to scientific knowledge and the development of new technologies. Energy technologies. The development of clean and sustainable energy sources will be crucial to addressing climate change and ensuring a sustainable future. Airplane technologies. Improvements in airplane technology could enhance, transportation, trade, and cultural exchange. Biopharma technology. Advances in biopharma technology would improve healthcare, disease prevention, and the quality of life. Biosphere and Earth ecosystem. Protecting and restoring the Earth ecosystems would be essential for ensuring the long-term sustainability of human civilization. Allocation of resources. Corporations would not have any social advantages granted by their position in terms of technology, resources, or food allocation. All resources will be distributed equitably based on needs and contribution to society. Now, just a quick word about career path in corporations. Career path in technology will be based solely on individuals' studies, capabilities, motivation, and enthusiasm in these fields. There would be no preferential treatment or advantages granted based on social status or connections. Key principles: service to humanity. Cooperation would exist to serve the broader goals of human development and progress, not the accumulation of wealth, because money would, would cease to exist. Technological innovation. Corporations will be encouraged to innovate and develop new technologies to address global challenges. Equity and fairness. All individuals would have equal access to education, resources, and opportunity in the technology sector. Sustainability. Corporations would be expected to operate in a sustainable manner, minimizing their environmental impact and promoting social responsibility. By following these principles, a moneyless society could harness the power of corporation to drive technological advancement and improve the lives of people around the world. Now, and what about sexual and social definition in a moneyless society? So, sexual orientation and gender identity, heterosexuality and homosexuality, both heterosexual and homosexual relationship will be permitted and accepted and not be discriminated whatsoever. Transgenderism would be allowed, but individuals would need to undergo a thorough evaluation by a team of specialists to determine the validity of the gender identity and change. There might be an age requirement to ensure that individuals have reached maturity, a certain level of maturity before making significant decisions about their gender. Marriage and partnership. Marriage and open unions. Both marriage and open union will be recognized and legally protected. Equal rights and responsibilities. In both marriage and open union, partners will have equal rights and responsibilities. Separation and divorce. Separation and divorce will be allowed, and the distribution of resources will be determined by a fair and equitable process, meaning there will be no restrictions on the man or the woman when they get separated, because money will not be a factor, a determining factor, because in reality there will be no money anymore. So only the resources that are shared between the different households will determine what they receive in order to be sufficient to the needs and technology allocation. So money will not be a factor in this element anymore. Domestic violence, zero tolerance. Domestic violence will be strictly prohibited and severely punished, regardless of the circumstances. Support for victims. Victims of domestic violence will be provided with support and assistance from, psychology support, but also to ensure that medical support will be at the level of the needs that are required. Key principles: individual freedom. Individuals will have the freedom to choose their own sexual orientation and gender identity at a certain age, of course. Equality: all individuals will be treated equally regardless of the sexual orientation or gender identity. Respect: respect for the rights and dignity of all individuals will be a fundamental principle of society. Safety: domestic violence will not be tolerated and victims will be protected. By adhering to these principles, a moneyless society could create a more inclusive, equitable, and just world where individuals can live freely and without fear of discrimination. Now, we've tackled this moneyless society as a final conclusion. I talked recently to my brother about this moneyless society. What would be the possibility of reaching such a level of maturity? and putting aside money and wealth accumulation. He said it was a utopia. He didn't believe in the possibility of reaching such a level of maturity, but he appreciated that it was something that would be good for the human development. In this imagined moneyless society, we have explored a world where human values and relationship are prioritized over material wealth. By eliminating the corrupting influence of money, we have sought to create a more just, equitable, and sustainable future for the human civilization as a whole. Because, as I said before, to me, the human civilization is a family, a brotherhood. So, what happens to someone in Asia could have a reflect on me as me as a mixed guy living in Montreal, right? So it wouldn't be just to have a society where I can enjoy my life entirely, and someone beside me is just scarcity of food and access to technology or necessity will not be provided. It's not acceptable. This society is characterized by strong emphasis on spiritual growth, personal development, and technological advancement. It is a world where individuals are free to pursue their passions and contribute to the betterment of society without the constraints of financial gain. While this vision of a moneyless society may seem idealistic, it offers a compelling alternative to the current economic system, which is plagued with inequality, injustice, and environmental degradation. By rethinking our priorities and values, we can create a world that is truly centered on human well-being and the common good for everyone and for the future generations as well. So this is the end of our history of money. Is money the root of all evil? It is. You know, you could see throughout the evolution of money, money has been used as an element of corruption for men. And now it's time for us to think about, better alternatives in order to find a way to ensure the betterment of the human civilization as a whole. So I thank you very much for your time. If you appreciated what you've seen in this series about the history of money, or is money the root of all evil? So please share, like, comment, subscribe. It will be my pleasure to respond to any of your comments. I thank you very much for your time, and I see you very soon. So as I said before, there will be I will be doing a podcast with the young authors recently, and in about 2 weeks we'll be doing this podcast, and I will be presenting this fantastic author that has written 2 fantastic books that I will be sharing, as well as an element that you can with the links that you could buy them, and at the same time I'm preparing something on the Sumerian society and the Anunnaki. Anunnaki is the ancient extraterrestrial civilization that was supposedly living alongside the Sumerian civilization. So I will be doing a series on that as well. So see you very soon. Thanks very much for your time. I appreciate you taking the time to look at my videos, even though I'm not doing hundreds of thousands of views, but I'm feeling really supported by the small number of people that look at my videos, and I thank you very much for the bottom of my heart. And I'll see you very, very soon. Thank you very much, and take care of yourself. Bye-bye.